So Black Panther has been out for about a week now, give or take a day or two, depending on when I can get this uploaded. So we thought we'd go ahead and do sort of an unscripted sort of review slash sort of idea on where potentially Black Panther could leave both the state of the game and where the game could go in the future. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the character itself. We're both playing as Black Panther at the moment, so that you can see some footage of two different players and two different play styles using him. One is very pounce heavy, the other one is more traditional, with the idea of tagging with range and do melee damage. So I think we'll go ahead and get your opinions on Black Panther as a character first before we go on and get mine, because I have already had my say on this channel. Yeah. So that's the character. Don't go too in depth because we will be having a character review.
Well, he is a very good character. Like, just in terms of like what he does he feels very good to play. He feels very fluid. His combos like feel perfectly.
Yeah,
he plays exactly how you want to play. The close, quick melee fighter.
Yeah, and I definitely think leaning into a lot of when I watched the dev stream, or not the dev stream, the launch party, I should say. They came out just the day before Black Panther released. They talked about how they wanted a lot of it to be more of a tag them with a couple of range hits, then move in with the damage buff and stuff like that. But no, you have pretty much just developed your version of Black Panther around the pounce and only the pounce.
Oh, somewhat, not entirely.
Yeah, sure. But that's sort of the primary way that you sort of use him. I'm more into the light combos, go into the heavy kinetic pulse. I do a lot of that. I'm dropping the other side. But, yeah, so I agree with most of those statements. The fluidity, especially, I think is one of the stronger aspects of his character. Because I know a lot of other characters, they feel a little jagged to me in terms of a lot of their animations. The only real exceptions are mostly Black Widow. But especially with how T'Challa sort of just his movements and stuff, they really fit with the combination of light and heavies. They don't have as much of an input delay is the term that I'll use between switching them. So it's not like you're jumping between different sets. You can actually get into a good flow going. Do you have anything else you want to talk about Black Panther that's not too major before we have to get into his?
I mean, no, not really. Anything else I want to say would be an in-depth character review type of thing.
Yeah, that's fair. I think next we're probably going to go ahead and talk about Wakanda, and so this is probably going to be one of the longer segments because we're also probably going to talk a lot about what they can do in terms of environment design, and probably we're also going to go into a lot of level design while we're doing this as well. So I guess I'll go ahead and start at the last one. I think Wakanda. I think this is a pretty universally agreed upon idea that Wakanda is the best zone that we've had in the game. I think you can also agree with that statement.
Far and away, nothing even comes remotely close.
Yeah, and so I think especially a lot of I like the verticality of it that they designed into it, especially, and that was also one of their goals. So kudos to Crystal for that.
Well, I mean, this is the only time they've actually that I can think of that they've tried verticality in any meaningful way.
Yeah, because I know a lot of that stuff is a lot more. They appeared as though they were leaning more into the horizontal movement. So you have a lot of the jumping combo, the jumping trains. You have excessive wall running of characters like Cap and Hawkeye. The only real vertical stuff would be with the Flyers and then Black Widow's grapple, and Hawkeye's, I should say, as well. So they're the only real vertical heroes. But even still, they don't really have that much because of the invisible barriers. But with Wakanda and such, they added a bunch of cliff ledges, side caves, and stuff like that, and just the general zones. Not to mention specific mission design and stuff like that, for what we're doing now.
I feel like all the other zones will have something when we get patrols eventually next month. Hopefully, because every zone is designed around very medium length missions, while Wakanda is filled with a bunch of longer missions. I mean, there's only 4 story missions, but the length of them, it feels like it takes an eternity. But that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, they have a bunch of because we have they have the base of the jungle that we sort of start out with in most of the the threat sectors and the story missions. Then they have the outside of the temple that you go through in one or two of the threat sectors, as well as that one story mission. Where you go in and this is the first time you see Claw with his sonic cannon. and stuff like that. So they have both of those sections. They have the just all of the area from the first level, which is a lot bigger than
Basically,
the rest of
or
most of
just any
Wakanda's
other sections in
sections.
the game.
So they have a lot more. That's true. Yeah, they have a lot more built into this region that allows for them to add more. So yeah, I definitely think when patrols come, it'll be a whole lot easier for us to judge the exterior parts of Wakanda. So I think before we move on to sort of like actual levels and like mission design, you want to go ahead and take a stab at your general ideas on sort of the forest and the jungles of Wakanda?
I mean, like my one thing that like I really like about them more than anything is like there's color and there's just diversity, and it's not just kind of one area. It's not like, hey, look, city. Hey, look, random aim facility. It's like, hey, look at this cave over here. Well, there's this like ancient looking temple where you can grab gear at. Like, it's just cool because it's actual variety in map design. Instead of go attack this building,
Yeah,
go run down this city block. Like, don't get me wrong, that was fine when the game first launched, but
yeah,
that's all we've had since launch. I mean, I guess you could count like the wastelands, but just kind of nothing to them.
Wastelands really, to me at least, the Wastelands kind of just felt like a less, not less, a more interesting version of the Badlands in terms of just design. It was just Badlands but with less trees, but more like giant
Well, I
clevi.
feel as though like since patrols has come out and the wastelands were made for patrols. Like, so I feel when those come out,
Yeah,
it's gonna get a lot better. But as of now, it's just bland area that has stupid debuff.
yeah. So let's go ahead and jump into the individual mission design. I think we should probably go ahead with what we're doing right now and just talk about probably our favorite mission aspects, and that's the horde mode section.
Crystal, Crystal, please add this in the game as just normal thing.
Yeah, I don't think these should be drop zones. I think these should honestly just be an actual thing. Just add that they do.
Well, I think what was it? Was it earlier this week when we were just running them? We were talking about actually making them a thing and giving them reward
Yeah,
tiers.
there's a lot of like if we were gonna go more into depth on those ideas, it'd probably be our own separate video, just like how we would expand the horde mode sections and stuff like that in the game. But yeah, so with the horde modes and such, I like the sort of the three objective points. It's not gonna be super easy for solo players just because they have to bounce back and forth between all of them. But two plus people, it's definitely a whole lot more manageable. And I think if they add on, just like an infinite variant of this, I think it would be one of the best activities in the game, and it could actually be a very good way to sort of stall out with endgame content when there's not really anything. Ooh, sorry, major that'll be coming out.
I mean, horde modes are always fun. Who doesn't love just kind of saying, "Ooh, look, bad guy, me
Yeah,
hit."
that's fair.
Like, it's a very simple thing. There's really not that much of a time commitment.
So when we're talking about a lot of the stuff, I think next thing we should probably go over in terms of level design are the drills and such. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head.
The fuses.
Yeah, the fuses. That's what they're called. Yeah. Let's go over the fuse missions. How do you feel about the fuse missions? Because I have some thoughts.
I love them and hate them.
Yeah, that's accurate enough.
I think they're very cool and unique. I will give them that. I like where they were going. It's so annoying when you just can't jump around and hit all the objectives on the bottom half because you're getting hit by 7 billion rockets, or you're getting tossed off the top when you're trying to destroy the last core or whatever it is. Like, I'm not mad about any enemy density, but there's a point where it's just too much.
I don't even think a lot of it. The issue is with the enemy density. I think a lot of it is actually just with there's a lot of knockback mechanics in this game. A lot of enemies have them, and there's not much resistance in terms of the heroes for what they have. So when you're dealing with those, it's kind of like whoa, hi, sort of situation.
I don't think there's any knockback resistance in this game, just at all.
No, I think the only kind you could possibly get is Black Panther, and that's only if it's like a base knockback thing, and that's if you're using your intrinsic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it just there's a lot of knockback on there, and yeah, so I think that is a thing that I would like Crystal to take another look at is sort of how they can pull back on the knockback in terms of what enemies can do, and maybe implementing some other enemy attacks and stuff like that that are about as threatening, but aren't as frustrating to deal with in terms of just like when you get flung off of an objective, just because some enemy decided,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just gonna fire a pulse off, and you can't do anything about it.
Can we nerf Sonic?
Yeah, I think that's a good segue into talking about the two new enemy
Can
types.
we nerf Sonic?
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
segue.
it's so
So
annoying.
in War for Wakanda, they released two new damage types with vibranium and sonic damage. Vibranium is not terrible to deal with. Sonic, however,
It's
is
actually very
something
good.
else. Yeah, my
You ever just stand up too fast and everything's blurry? Yeah, that's what Sonic is.
when you get hit by Sonic, it's like this weird like cream shade like that gets splashed onto your screen, and you can't see anything. And a lot of the time, whenever you're hit by a Sonic attack, it usually follows by about 4 or 5 of the same attack that gives you knockback. So yeah, it's a lot of issues with Sonic. I think the only real change I would do is probably reduce the intensity that is of the screen like fade. Just pull that back.
Yeah. As someone who wears glasses, it gives me headaches.
Yeah, and so that's a different thing.
Like if I'm constantly hit by it, it hurts my head.
Okay. But yeah, I know. The only other thing I could say is just give sort of Sonic attacks a bit of a cooldown, so they can't just sort of spam them like within like 4 seconds of one another. Because that's really my biggest issue is like if you get hit once by it, fine, but when you get hit by it like 5 times in a row because you're stun locked,
and it resets the timer every time you get hit.
Yeah. And the issue itself isn't really even with the being hit by it several times. It's the fact that you're hit with it while you're stun locked. So you can't dodge out of the way or do anything like that. You just kind of have to take it. And yeah, so those are our issues with Sonic. Vibranium though, I like the way that both of them interplay off of one another.
Good.
I like the way that this new these two new elements were handled in terms of their implementation. I want to see more.
My only thing I was scared about when we first heard about them was like, oh, vibranium, makes enemies like a bomb, and I was like, oh, it's not gonna do enough damage. Oh no, it does a lot of
vibranium
damage.
Vibranium does.
I think the highest I've seen it hit is like 23,000.
Yeah, and even then, we don't even know if that's the top of the scale. It's just what
that's like
seen.
the cap. Like it hits very hard, and I wasn't even fully leveled up then when I seen that. So I don't know what's it gonna do, but I'm very happy it's strong and not just kind of okay.
Yeah, we're glad it's not like another plasma or something like that where it's like it's usable, but there are other options.
Shock and Cosmic.
Well, the game is good if you're using that one character.
Big Green Man.
Yes. But yeah, no. So the two element types we both really like, and how that's handled. I think that's about most of what we could say about the new type of stuff that was added in War for Wakanda. The only other real missions are other stuff from the base game. So you have your standard defends, your attacks, your assaults, your eliminations, and stuff like that. Nothing too out there outside of the horde mode and the fuse missions. Which one is incredible, and I think they should keep doing more of it. And the fuse ones, I think they just need just a little more time in the oven, and they'd be great. That's really the only issue with the fuses. That they just, I like the fuses. It's just, there's just a lot of it comes down to
annoying.
What is in the encounter, not with the encounter itself.
No, the fuse I like overall. It's very unique,
I like
and very different.
The four stages that you have to do with just like climbing up a tower to take it down. Like I like that. But it's just the enemies that are in there are interesting. Speaking of enemies, the new claw faction that we got in War for Wakanda, we're dealing with those guys right now. So how about we start in terms of size, and let's go with the scout crawlers, tiny spider guys. Thoughts on those?
They're cool. I'm happy they're the only bot added.
That's the crawler. Yeah, that's the bigger issue is the amount of robot enemies and such. But yeah, I like the crawlers as well. I like the bigger ones as well. So I think we're just gonna go ahead and talk about the hunter ones as well. I like that the hunter ones can be pounced.
Oh yes.
I like being able to do that. My issue with the hunter ones is that it's just annoying to be hit by their tether.
Yes. Oh, very very much so. Other than that, that's really it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about the bruisers now. And so those are the axe guys.
They're the worst.
Yeah, bruisers are the bigger problem. Those are the enemies that utilize Sonic mostly. I like their combat design. I like how they sort of function in terms of general gameplay. Once they get their sonic cannons off, though, it becomes frustrating to deal with.
They become an absolute problem.
Yeah. There's not really much else to say on the bruisers. The strikers, those are the primarily vibranium users. Yeah, I really like the strikers. I like how the vibranium attacks play into one another and stuff like that. I think those are a very good enemy type. I think other variants should continue. Yeah, any thoughts on the strikers?
Yeah, just simple guys, simple plan, and they execute it.
And the specialists now with the drone guys. I like them a lot.
Please stop existing.
Oh, so we actually disagree on this one then.
Yes. Oh, is that the ones that,
Okay.
that some of the drones?
It's the drone guys. Yeah, the drone guys.
Please stop existing.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and tell me what you dislike about them specifically?
Sonic.
Outside of the Sonic.
Specifically Sonic. Also, they just jump back. They just jump. They jump and they jump and they jump and they jump.
Okay, I can kind of see the frustration of having to deal with just the bounding back and forth. I like the enemies have a support enemy type now. I like the idea of them using drones and stuff like that, sort of staying back out of the fight until you have to take them down. I wish there were more ways to take out the drones instead of just using range attacks.
I also don't like that drones are very tiny and hard to hit because they move around with them.
That's very true. Yeah. So we actually disagree on the drone things, but there are obviously a bunch of positives, a bunch of negatives to that enemy type in particular. It just all depends on what specifics you're leaning into. Like I think I like the idea of the enemies having a support class.
I like it, but I think just as Black Panther, like his range will do, but it's like he's a melee character, so it's very hard when he doesn't have the best range. You have to hit this tiny little robots. It's not very fun.
Yeah, I can definitely. But yeah, no, I think they need to keep on that track of having enemies who aren't exactly the I'm going to go ahead and do damage type enemies. They need to lean into more. Okay, they're going to have some support classes. They're going to have a bunch of other stuff like that. I think they're on the right track with the specialists. It's just a matter of the balancing. I think is the big thing. Should we go ahead and talk about the story now?
Amazing.
Yeah. So out of the four
good.
stories that we've gotten, how would you rank the campaigns that we've gotten, including Reassemble, Taking Aim, Future Imperfect, and War for Wakanda? Like, how would you rank those?
War for Wakanda is the best one.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I say it's the best one.
I can definitely see that.
I think Avengers Assemble. That's the main story of the game.
Yeah, Reassembled is the vanilla story.
Yeah. I say that's number 2.
Okay.
My only reason for that because I'd recently just replayed through the story. It is a very good story. There's just a lot of filler. Like that's the only thing. It's just there's just filler.
Yeah. I definitely get that.
Like, my only issue. Other than that, I love it. And then I guess Hawkeye's, because there was setup with Kate's, where Kate had no setup at all, because it was like part 1, part 2,
and then Taking Aim is the last one.
Yeah.
You and I pretty much agree on that. I just have a Reassembled War for Wakanda flip, but that's also mostly because I liked the Reassemble campaign a lot because I sort of got out of a lot of the Marvel comics sort of in the early to mid 2010s and stuff like that. And I leaned more into a lot of the DC stuff, which I read. So I was familiar with a character like Kamala Khan and Riri Williams and those characters like that. I was familiar with them, and I didn't know a whole lot. I read a little bit of their stuff.
Absolutely no idea who Kamala Khan was before this game existed. No idea.
Yeah, and so I think I love the introduction and the implementation of Miss Marvel into this story and using her sort of as a viewer surrogate.
Yeah, I that part I did enjoy. That's what I'm saying. Like it, aside from the filler, amazing story, love it. It's so good, dude. If you bought Avengers or, I would say if you haven't played through the story, play through the story. Watch all the cutscenes. Just experience it at least once. And also try to convince some friends to do the same thing.
On the point of filler, that was one of the big things that I feel as though they fixed in War for Wakanda. There wasn't as much filler. There wasn't as much padding. There was still some, but there wasn't, an immense amount like there was in the Reassemble campaign.
I mean, there were 4 missions, and it was just... You would just go away.
Yeah, they knew the story they wanted to tell. They went ahead and told it, and they told it very well. Let's go ahead and talk about the voice performances. So I go ahead and pulling up the cast list. So I think we'll go ahead and start with the big one. Christopher Judge is Black Panther.
Kratos.
So what did you think of Christopher Judge's
Dog,
performance?
dog, I loved it. I think he nailed it.
I definitely agree with that. There's not really much else I can say a lot of that. He is not my favorite Black Panther voice. That still goes to the one from like the guy who does him in the Lego games and the one who voices him in Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. But Christopher Judge, I think, does a very good job of doing this version of T'Challa. Yeah, so he's definitely probably my second favorite version of the character. So it's the old cartoons, this version, and the MCU version. Deborah Wilson as Okoye. People would know her as Seer from Fallen Order. So what do you think of Okoye?
Honestly, I have no like real prior knowledge except the movie. I think they like Crystal got the right people to like actually like make the accents, like the African accents, as authentic as possible.
Yeah, they actually when they were talking on the dev stream, they got the lady who was the dialect coach for the films to do the dialect coaching for this. So they got the same sort of lead.
And I think they
lead
did
coach
an
for
amazing
this
job.
game.
I really think they did a good job. Like there were some times where I heard it, but it was very few and far between, and it was like lines and like drop zones and stuff.
Yeah, it was like the idle game dialogue where it's like, oh, you complete the objective. It's like, okay, here's how to move to the
But
next one and
but
stuff like
and
that.
like
Nothing, all of the major story beats they did
yeah,
good.
or I mean like that's where it really matters. Like you could say it matters in like the little move on, but like it really doesn't. Those are just idle lines. Where it really matters is like the cut scenes and as you're going through the story, and they're hitting when it's an emotional moment or whatever. They're nailing it. That's where it matters. That's where people pay the most attention, and they
Yes.
did it. And they
Yeah,
did it
definitely. Yeah.
amazingly there, and I'm very satisfied.
Um, Erica Luttrell as Shuri. I think she did a great job. She was fantastic.
Yeah.
Dave Fennoy as Zelavari, or as we affectionately refer to him as Crack Dealer.
Crack dealer.
And that's mostly just because of the location that he set up in.
Yeah, no, it's 100% the location.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I thought he did a very good job of playing that sort of older, almost like is he crazy, is he not type character.
Yeah, that
I
kind
think
of
he
it's
did a
like
good job
it's
on
like
that.
I don't really know about him. It's like I
Yeah,
guess I
I
can
think he
take
did
his
a very good job.
wisdom, but yeah.
Yeah, and then Steve Bloom as Claw. Steve Bloom is just great in general.
Yeah.
I know.
No, he.
I was introduced to him just through Wolverine, but
I think he did an amazing job because he made Claw sound like a grade A hole.
yeah, both the
Which, I
writing
mean,
and the voice acting was
Yeah.
he was.
Oh
sounded
yeah,
like a
no,
dick.
he did it
It was great.
perfectly. It's just like I want to hit you,
Yeah,
and that's what they were going for.
yeah,
That's exactly what they were going for.
yeah. Yeah, so that let's go ahead and talk about some of the story beats themselves. So campaign opens, and it's just the initial invasion of Wakanda. What did you think about that? The first mission. So the initial invasion, the first Crossbones boss, and stuff like that.
I think it set it up. I think they should have done a little bit of setup before, but it did all the setup it needed to do, and then you got to experience one of the little puzzles. I still have not seen one, but I also haven't been searching for them. But you got to like do one of the you got to do actually no, you got to do two puzzles if you did one for the extra chest and then the one so you got a little
Yeah,
like a little
yeah,
taste of
the
the
second one.
puzzles and
Yeah, the
the
little
extra stuff from
direction.
Wakanda. I think that I liked it because it kind of was like, oh, I'm here for a reason, cool. And it brought the Avengers in.
I liked the way that they introduced a lot of the backstory elements for Wakanda, and sort of if you're paying attention to some of the dialogue, or if you when you're having to do one of the puzzles, you have to check on the symbols on the wall, and if you pay attention to those, you can listen to that, and you can hear some of the history in this universe and stuff like that. And then the first Crossbones fight, I liked the idea of taking him down, knocking him down for a bit to be able to take out an objective, and then he gets back up, throws his shield up again. It's fairly simple, but it's not
It's
past
something
Master
different.
Abomination. That's just a damage sponge.
Also, don't forget about the cool door opening where the mask goes on the face. That was cool.
That's fair. That was that. Yeah, that was that first mission we both really liked. The second mission was, if I'm remembering correctly, it was with Okoye and trying to deal with what was going on with the Komodo network.
With the Komodo Network?
Yeah, and what did you think about that? The second one.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I aside from really the first mission, like the second and third mission, they were there to push the story along. Like, and that was their purpose. I like they were okay for what they were, but they were just there as story and to push it further. The first mission and the last mission were the best missions because also the beginning and the ending, and again the middle was just like it moved the story forward. It served its purpose, and it served its purpose well.
I really liked being able to see that cutscene with Okoye and the Dora Milaje, just sort of doing what they do and stuff like that. I really liked. I liked a lot of the storyline and stuff. The more setup with the backstory and that type of thing, in general. So that was enjoyable. So, third mission was in the Azure's temple, dealing with the Shuri's kidnapped team. I think that one had one of the cooler locations inside the temple and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the temple was so cool. I love the way it looked.
Yeah, so the temple was really good. The mission itself, the objectives and stuff were your standard fare for Avengers. You go here, you do this thing. They had one of the more interesting puzzles that we didn't actively do that solo, so we're not entirely sure about how that would work. Where you stand on top of the on the plates, raise the pillar, and then on another side you have to hit one of the range attack buttons.
Oh no, I did it solo.
Oh, you did?
No, what it does is it extends the time.
Oh, it does? Okay. Oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. You still have to be quick about it, but you have like some time.
Yes. Okay. So well, there you go then. But yeah, so I like the third one. And the final mission in the mining facility. That was great.
Wow.
That was great.
Wow.
Had in our opinion also the best boss fight in the game, which was the first dual boss.
Dual boss fight with actual mechanics.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
You have Soundclaw locking you off inside of a dome with one or two of the other characters. You have the other set having to deal with Crossbones and take out some of the generators off to the side. It was probably is my favorite fight in the whole game.
Oh yeah. I mean, before it was Monica's because it was the only actual other good boss fight. That wasn't just he has a bunch of health, shoot him till he dies.
Yeah, and we have yet to actively finish the OLT. We've done it. There's just that boss fight is really difficult.
That will probably end up being a stream or a video all of itself with an entire clear when we get around to doing that.
Yeah, because we have some changes that we think should be made to the OLT, but I know especially one of the ones that I'm thinking of that would require a minor bit of a rework to the fight, but it would not be enough major, but still. Yeah, so I think that is all for the story. I think the last little bit that we should probably go over is where do we think Avengers is going to go from here, and where do we think it should go? I think the big question that we should ask first is the obvious one: is the game safe?
Yes or no?
And I think there is only one answer, and the answer is it depends.
Honestly, yeah.
And when we say it depends, it really depends on whether or not Crystal Dynamics can keep up the flow of what they have going on now.
I mean, all across internet, YouTube, everywhere. Like I've seen, well, no, say everywhere, but like 99.99%, I've seen nothing but good things. You always have those people who have a clickbaity title or just hate on the game to hate on the game, but that's literally every game.
You have some people who also have like genuine issues. Like I know a lot of people. I don't think we experienced any bugs, but I know some people did, and that definitely would ruin someone's experience. And that I completely
but then there are people who just like the game's bad, So, but like most people have been saying it is very good. I have enjoyed this, but this is step one.
Yeah. They have to be able to sort of keep up this flow and this release set that they've been going on with more characters, and they need, at this point in time of recording, they have yet to release the second roadmap post Black Panther. So we have no idea what's actually coming. So everything we say after this is going to be pure speculation about both what is coming and then what we also
characters, events, what we want to come.
Yeah. So the only confirmed aspect is Spider-Man, and that is almost certainly going to be coming in December.
Yeah. Only for PlayStation, though.
But any point around that, that's the big issue that I'm not a fan of. And that's coming from people who play on PlayStation. I think
it is very dumb. Very dumb.
Yeah, and that's a whole different thing. That's an issue that a lot of people have brought up. So that's just beating a dead horse in terms of what is coming with Spider-Man. But yeah. So who do you think the next character is going to be? I think we both have pretty much settled on who we think the next one's going to be.
Like if we're going with the whole Wakanda theme, it has to be Winter Soldier.
Yeah, we're both kind of leaning on the idea of it's going to be Bucky Barnes is going to be the next playable hero. Oh, there you go. Yeah, we're both fairly certain on Winter Soldier coming next, probably after Spider-Man when he drops, and then after that, it's kind of a toss-up
Yeah.
for who's coming when.
I mean, I think the
They
closest three characters that we think are like close to being done are Winter Soldier, She-Hulk, and War Machine.
Yeah, and that's just according to just the amount of stuff they have in the files versus
Yeah.
all the other leaked heroes, which we have some or little or maybe just the unlock file. And that's about it. Yeah, so with Winter Soldier, I definitely think it's going to be coming up next. What villain do you think is going to be in there? Because I'm leaning more towards Red Skull and or Baron Zemo, mostly toward the latter.
I mean, I would honestly rather
Yeah,
Baron Zemo. We have a villain. We don't have a single villain with like drip
that
at
you got a
all.
point.
None of them with drip. None with drip. Baron Zemo, my boy got cash. She got drip.
This is a fair point. But yeah, so so I definitely think Zemo is going to be coming in next as well. But yeah, so outside of that, in terms of content, we're fairly certain that the Kree invasion is going to be coming within the next coming year with Captain
Yeah,
Marvel and
that's
stuff like
probably
with
next
Captain
year's
Marvel and stuff like that.
big expansion. Yeah.
So we're fairly certain that she's going to be coming then as well. Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch have been teased. Loki has been getting multiple
Yeah.
teases, where he's showing up at some point, or they're missing every opportunity they themselves set up.
Yeah. Been set up since the base game and still nothing.
I mean, hell, he's even gotten setups with so I've already just like Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch and stuff like that. So it all
Yeah.
the content that's coming out with this game needs to become more consistent than it has been in terms of not just the events and stuff, but in terms of actual like viable releases. I think more stuff like Cosmic Cube needs to
Yeah.
happen versus more things like Hawkeye, Black Panther, and Kate Bishop.
Like it's nice to get new heroes, but it's also nice to get actually something new of substance besides a new character.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem that a lot of people in just who play this game and who want to play this game, they focus more on the playable characters, which I mean, don't get me wrong, that's an important aspect as someone who played, things like Ultimate Alliance. I like, massive Marvel character rosters in video games. Just because it's fun to, mix and match a team of four of, some of your favorite heroes and stuff like that. But especially in a game like this, a lot of it is story driven. So you have to keep that in mind when you're working on that. And I think just getting some story progression in general is a good thing. It doesn't have to come with a hero.
No,
You can
even
do
if it's just like a
story
mission,
progression. Yeah,
like if it's
just one or two
just a
smaller things.
one-off mission, that just kind of pushes it. That's fine. It doesn't have to be the world's longest mission. Maybe like a medium length, like threat sector or something. Maybe one
Yeah,
new
just nothing
enemy.
major.
That's fine. And it's story content and it pushes it along. Maybe teases some heroes. Because I mean, you're making events, and yeah, as fun as they are, I mean, you do them in like 2 days, 3 days. You get the exotics, you do all the character specific stuff, and then you're done. If you do it in the first week, then you don't play the game for a week because there's nothing to do.
Yeah, so I definitely think that they need to increase the hero release output, just because that is another big aspect. Is playing as the same, now 9 characters is going to get repetitive at extensively, especially for people
Yes.
like us who have, most specifically me, who have maxed out pretty much every character and have sets that they like and stuff like that. So it all depends on getting that hero output done, increasing the amount of villains that we have outside of just the core that is in the game now. So adding more
Please.
patrols, definitely. I think patrols should lean into doing more, but stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's most of our thoughts on War for Wakanda. I definitely really liked it. I think they need to keep going in this trajectory. It worked very well for them, and I think it was a solid start for getting this game back on track.
I honestly, in terms of out of 10, I'd give it
Yeah,
an 8. I'd give it an 8 out of
yeah, I
10.
think that's good. This is also before we have that leaked idea of the raid
Raid.
that was leaked a while back. So this is before that release, if it will in general. So yeah, I'd say around an 8 as well. One of the best characters in the game, one of the best storylines in the
Yeah.
game, the best area, the best boss fight. This expansion does very well, and I think that Crystal definitely needs to pat themselves on the back for getting this out in the state that it was in.
Oh yeah. they did an amazing job, especially when it came from almost a year ago, where the game was just a buggy mess.
Oh yeah, and
You
we both
know,
played the game at launch, so we've been we've seen
we've
where the game
seen,
has been and what it's
yeah, and
had to go
it's
through to
and
get to the state where it's in.
I I give them a thumbs up. They've done an amazing job so far. It's
Yeah, they
just step
definitely
one.
they buckled down and they've gotten it to a point where I actively have been recommending people pick up this game
Yeah,
because now it's absolutely worth it with the three
I
extra
mean,
playable characters, the different zones, all the story content,
one thing that I've
unlock a
been
boss fight
saying
DLT, stuff like that. So
is that if War for Wakanda does well, which it has, and it has, it did, and it has still been doing, I see this game going free to play.
yeah, yeah, free to play I definitely think would be a good idea, especially with what they're charging in the marketplace and stuff like that. I think going free to play, I think would definitely help because we saw
When they did the free to play weekend,
in the free weekend that
yeah,
the Steam player base
I
count
know.
spiked to around 10,000 concurrent players within a 24-hour span, which is something that this game. I don't even believe this game at launch had, if I'm
No,
remembering
the
correctly. I think
highest it's had,
well, no, it
it
did.
had
No, it
higher at
did. It
launch,
did. Yeah,
but
it was around like 30. It was around like 30
that's the
players, I think,
highest
right?
it's
Yeah.
been since the game's launched.
Yeah, and that's like, and when you think about the lowest that it got to with around 900 or so players just after Kate Bishop release,
So,
it's this game absolutely has been able to claw itself out of a grave that it was done because this game should have been done.
it should have released this
But
year, not last year.
yeah, yeah, but I definitely think War for Wakanda gives players reasons to come back if they left the game because of the state that it was in at launch. I definitely think it's with this content now. I definitely think it's a good time for new players
Yeah,
to jump in,
and
see what the game is all about and stuff like that. No, I think on War for Wakanda, I've compared this game to a person who's in the hospital. When it launched, it was a person on life support.
yep.
Not high of a chance of surviving. War for Wakanda, they took it off life support. It's pretty stable right now, but they haven't let it go home just yet.
No,
Once they get to a certain point, after a while, if they can keep consistently releasing new
new
characters, new
stories.
locations, new missions, new stories, once they get into a good flow with that, then I think the game will be in solid state for everyone. So yeah, I think that was our 45-minute breakdown and review of War for Wakanda 1 week after it released. So thank you guys for watching. We'll try and have our whole character review coming out at some point soon. We'll tack that onto the playlist with Captain America, and yeah, I think that's about it. We'll see you guys when we get the chance to make that.
Bye bye.